The time has finally come. We all knew it was going to happen, never a doubt, because the San Francisco 49ers and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk have finally come to an agreement on a massive contract extension. We made it, folks. We've made it. The Brandon Aiyuk saga is officially over, done, finito. All of the anxiety can be put and laid to rest. You never have to think or worry about, will Brandon Aiyuk be a San Francisco 49er in 2024. In fact, you never have to worry. I won't say never, but you hopefully won't have to worry if he'll be a San Francisco 49er all the way until 2028 as of today. Breaking news, the San Francisco 49ers and All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk have agreed to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension with $76 million in guaranteed. We also learned later, after the news broke of the extension, that Brandon Aiyuk will get $47 million. If you've seen Austin Powers, $1 million between now and April 1st of 2025, and what is said to be a combination of an assumed signing bonus and guarantees. What a great day, folks. Celebrate. And look, let's talk about yesterday. Yesterday, did an hour-plus long stream put out this morning on the audio podcast platforms. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, by the way. But I was telling you how San Francisco is fed up with Brandon Aiyuk. Oh, it's going to be a 5th-year option, and that the only path to an extension was going to be this awkward U-turn of a massive semi-truck trying to tell people, I hear you honking, but I can't make this short turn. San Francisco was so fed up, they were thinking about fining him. Well, we've learned today San Francisco was so fed up, they wanted to give him an estimated annual value of contracts, $30 million per year, higher than the initial estimated $26 million offer, higher than what the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to offer him. San Francisco came back to the table and said, here, you want $30 million, here's $30 million per year. I want to give credit to Brandon Aiyuk and his agent. It's a long, hard, windy road to get a massive contract like that in the NFL. When you've already paid one receiver, teams are already so reluctant to pay another. There were so many back and forth, trade requests. There was the common social media post removing San Francisco from his Instagram and his TikTok and his Twitter and essentially scrubbing the social media. It took all of that to get to here. A road that honestly should have had an ending months ago, almost had endings months ago, but we finally made it to a point where Brandon Aiyuk will be a San Francisco 49er in 2024, 25, 26, and hopefully 2028. A lot of the holdups with the deal was that last year, that 4th year of the contract. From my understanding of the structure of the deal that was on the table before the deal Aiyuk actually signed, was that last year was going to bring the annual value down to around $28, $29 million. Aiyuk played some more hardball, didn't come to practice yesterday, didn't practice today. In fact, according to Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, Aiyuk was so peeved, so pissed off, if you will, that the negotiations were not going his way. He left the entire facility yesterday, cleared his head, came back today, and got that deal worked out, getting his $30 million per year contract, which is tied in 5th place with Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill. And listen to this, tied with Tyreek Hill for 5th among receivers in literally $2,500, $2,500 under Lions receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown's average of $30 million, literally $2,500 less than Amon-Ra St. Brown's average per year contractual value. The guaranteed $76 million Aiyuk got is tied for sixth with Dolphins receiver Jalen Waddle. It's well-deserved. This is a great day for San Francisco 49er fans. It's been tough, and we aren't in those rooms negotiating. Like, it's been, I feel like I've done 30 podcasts about this, trying to dissect, figure out what's going to happen next. And it's crazy. There was times where we thought that he was going to Pittsburgh. At the Browns offer on the table, Amari Cooper, a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick, that could be what San Francisco takes. The Patriots are involved. The Commanders maybe. The Denver Broncos are involved in some form or fashion. There are so many twists and turns to get to this moment. I don't want to take it for granted that this almost didn't happen. But just like John Lynch said yesterday, there's optimism and things can always take a turn in the right direction, even if things seem bleak. I'll be honest with you. I was ready to give up, move on, say, see you later. Unlike Bobo here, who says, there was no doubt in my mind Brandon Aiyuk was going to stay a 49er. I've been saying it the whole time. I have to go back and check the chat, Bobo, because I'm not exactly sure he was saying that the whole time. But hey, who cares about yesterday? It's a day to party, have fun. And honestly, it's a day to sit back and there haven't been many of these so far in the offseason. That, yes, they got to re-sign Trent Williams soon or give him a new contract, but ultimately we can sit back and almost put the majority of our focus to actually playing football. The entirety of the preseason, it wasn't, football, it's Aiyuk, Aiyuk, Aiyuk. The draft process was, it's a good draft class, but what about Aiyuk, Aiyuk, Aiyuk? And like Greg Papa would say, Aiyuk is on fire. Now it's Aiyuk. Aiyuk got a massive contract extension that puts him in the upper echelon of wide receivers. What a great day. What a great day for Niner fans. A phenomenal day for Brandon Aiyuk. You got your money, man. That's awesome. Awesome to see. Awesome to hear. Take care of your family for life. You are set. You are good to go. I think he'll be 30 if he plays out the rest of that entire contract. So San Francisco doesn't just get another receiver. San Francisco gets a receiver that has the best chemistry with Brock Purdy of those on the current roster. They also get an ascending receiver in their prime, and you really keep together the best receiver core you've had since Jerry and T.O. Like, again, I'm young. I'm 27. The best receiver core this team has had pre-Deebo, pre-Aiyuk, and pre-Juwan Jennings, like the receivers when I grew up was like Darrell Jackson and a little bit of T.O. and Ty Streets and J.J. Stokes and Brandon Lloyd was there. And then it was like Ashley Lilly was there for a hot second. Arnaz Battle was there. And you're like, who are these dudes? Which, no disrespect, Aiyuk and Deebo and Juwan are a phenomenal tandem. Now you get Pearsall in here. No worried, or I'm not worried about Aiyuk's, well, I'll rephrase that. I won't say I'm not worried about Aiyuk and his body being right. I'll say that Aiyuk being signed and healthy definitely takes pressure off of Ricky Pearsall, who has still been wearing the blue non-contact jersey. So we don't have to worry about, is Pearsall going to play? Is it Chris Conley? And honestly, my first reaction when the deal came down after my elated emotion of like, yes, finally, was I really feel bad for Ronnie Bell, man. Like, he's sitting there, 7th wide receiver on the roster, and he's like, I guess I'll leave. I guess I'll go. What the heck, man? I would also not be remiss to say that I wish this would have happened over the weekend, maybe on Monday before roster cutdown day. People in the chat here saying, let's effing go. Niner Sickness Podcast. What's going on? Lori Matthews saying, good evening, everybody. Now, if they announce Trent signs, we will be ready. Honestly, Lori, I get what you're saying, and I totally agree. There is a part of me, and this felt like one of the biggest reliefs, right? Deebo, you thought was always going to be here. There was a little bit of, will he not? Will he get traded? Will he stay? There was no doubt with Warner or Kittle or Bosa, no doubt with Purdy, no doubt with, again, Chris McCaffrey or other people they've resigned, even Jimmy Garoppolo, who was AWOL the entire offseason. This was the most tumultuous, arduous, troublesome, if you will, negotiations that San Francisco has gone through. And to know at the end of the tunnel there was light, it screams, perseverance. And that doesn't mean that you just forgive how things have gone. Money certainly helps. Once Aiyuk gets back out there and you win football games, nobody cares about your negotiations. And let's also be honest here. We don't know the exact breakdown of the contract, but this deal, just like when teams cut down their roster from 90 to 53, this deal is going to get redone like 4 or 5 times. like every big contract San Francisco does eventually gets redone a handful of times to free up money. But we no longer feel that dread of will they, won't they? It's they did. Finally, they're back together. And weirdly enough, it's kind of like my wife and myself. Our relationship was a lot of will they, won't they, because she doesn't listen to the podcast, but she liked me for a long time before I actually liked her. Then her friends were like, hey, she kind of likes you, blah, blah, blah. Got together, ended up getting married. A lot of will they, won't they, and that of like, well, you finally just admit you like each other. Here it was like, can Aiyuk and San Francisco finally admit they want to be together? And it, in my opinion, did take San Francisco kind of drawing that line in the sand, saying, hey, enough's enough. Take a deal, fifth year option, or get fined. I'm not sure that's exactly what pushed Aiyuk to signing his contract, but ultimately, things worked out. They should have gone 10 times smoother, but cooler heads prevailed. This should have been the outcome from day one. Like, again, it was a windy road. It was like a 13-chapter book of, Harry Potter. You're like, there's Voldemort, and there's freaking spiders, and there's what, I don't know. I don't want Harry Potter, but whatever else is in there. Lord of the Rings, if you will. There's spiders, and there's goblins, and there's hobbits, and there's elves. Like, what else could go wrong? That's what it kind of felt like throughout the entire process trying to get Aiyuk signed. But thankfully, the San Francisco 49ers reached the mountain of Mordor, put that freaking one ring in the pot and said, here's $30 million. And Aiyuk said, okay, great. Now we're here. And you can just tell on Twitter, on X, that everybody had this massive sigh of relief of like, oh my goodness, we can finally put this behind us. The anxiety was gone. Yes, Trent's not resigned yet, but if I were to be honest with you here, which I should be, shouldn't lie to you, but the minute they re-signed Aiyuk and it got announced, I instantly had like 100% confidence they're going to get Trent Williams signed. While there wasn't like, I always believed at least Trent was going to be here this year and the upcoming hopeful seasons he has left from his body. But now after Aiyuk signed, it was like, great. That was the biggest concern, biggest worry. Now you can turn your eyes to a player that you now need to have here. You want to have here. In fact, week 1 against the Jets, if he ain't out there, you're going to have a lot of angry fans screaming, someone protect Brock Purdy, the biggest asset you have. And, you don't want to lose your quarterback. So getting Aiyuk signed almost raised my confidence they were going to get Trent Williams signed. You see William Roberts here saying Trent's turn now to sign. I agree. Bobo says here, if the guaranteed Trent Williams the rest of his contract, add another year, he'll sign right away. With Trent, I think it's not as tricky with Trent. That's the thing. Aiyuk's value kind of fluctuated throughout the offseason. Obviously, when Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek got paid, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb got paid, there was some, fluidity to his asking price. Whereas Trent, I think his asking price has been very straightforward of, I want to be the highest paid left tackle on average. I also want the highest guaranteed money. Now, we don't know if San Francisco will actually buy into that, which he may not play if that doesn't happen. But Trent, to me, is a much more straightforward negotiation. If you don't meet his request, he's not going to play. He doesn't need to play. He doesn't have to play. Where Aiyuk, there was much more of this, we have leverage, you have leverage, kind of back and forth. I wrote an article today calling it the leverage teeter-totter of 1 second, Ayuk's high in the air. He has leverage, great. The next second, San Francisco's up in the air like, we're winning, we're winning. Who cares who won? In fact, all parties won. Aiyuk got paid. San Francisco gets their star receiver to pair with their star quarterback for the next 4 to 5 seasons. Okay. Gonna win some games. You also, it allows you the maneuverability contractually to, if you want to next year, if Deebo Samuel gets hurt, he's a year older, you can move off of him, but that's a story for next offseason, which in itself will be very hard. Got to pay Purdy and Banks, Hufanga, Greenlaw, Lenore, Mooney Ward, and many other people. But focusing on now, it's almost as if San Francisco was like, we're going to be good, or the fans were like, we're going to be good, but now it's like, we're going to be good, and let's go win a freaking Super Bowl. Now, you have no excuse once you re-sign Trent Williams. And I would like to believe that Trent's probably going to resign relatively soon. I don't know if San Francisco kind of had this mentality of, let's get Aiyuk done, then turn our focus towards Trent Williams. Papa J says here, with week 1 incoming or coming around the corner, how important is it for the Niners to sign Trent in the next 2 days? My understanding is Trent has been working out in Texas. He's ready to go. Now, obviously, being in shape and being in football shape is different. I would like to think if they can get Trent done by the weekend, get him in practice by Monday, have him and Bosa one-on-ones, team drills. Like, there is no excuse. It's very different from, like, my mind goes back to Michael Crabtree. He's a rookie. He had surgery coming out of college. Like, he didn't sign a big deal. Like, he was missing training camp days, missing practices. He needed to get himself in ramped up for week 1 of his rookie season, where Trent's played for like 15 years. I would like to believe that he knows what he has to do to get ready, because he has the intentions of playing. He wants to be out there. He knows, because think of it this way. Let's say Trent holds out for 4 weeks, right? Once he signs, he's going to want to play. He's going to have the mentality of, whenever I sign, I got to be good to go. I think getting him in this week, if they can, will help him a lot. Going up against Bosa and Leonard Floyd and, the edge rushers in the room currently. But, that to me, like, I don't worry about that a lot. Like, of all the people I don't worry about, it's Trent Williams. But again, getting him in the building is a massive deal. But back to Aiyuk. I mean, again, cooler heads prevailed in this. This was, we talked about earlier in the offseason when they were going back and forth of will they, won't they trade him, and kind of talking about leverage and who has it, who doesn't have it. Throughout that entire process, although there were ups and downs throughout it, I very much held on to the idea that if you're going to pay anybody that you've got to pay, it's going to be, of course, Brock Purdy, but then Brandon Aiyuk. He does whatever you want him to do. And I understand fans were upset with how long this process took, but Brandon Aiyuk is the literal perfect wide receiver for a Kyle Shanahan offense. He separates with the best of them. He's fast. He can be a deep threat, and he blocks like nobody else does. The effort's off the charts. If you molded a perfect wide receiver in a Kyle Shanahan offense, you probably have Julio Jones. I think Brandon Aiyuk's right under them or under him. Like, Deebo's great. Deebo fits what Shanahan wants, but he's a running back, not a great route runner, but does many things well that complement the offense. Aiyuk does almost everything Kyle Shanahan asks for in a receiver. Like, Kyle wasn't trading up for Deebo Samuel. He was trading up for Brandon Aiyuk. And, it always made sense of, you're going to play hardball with this guy. You're going to potentially trade this player away. Why? going back to 2022, Aiyuk stats, if you are into analytics, I'm going to bore you for a second. If you're not, EPA per target, second in the NFL since 2002. Percentage of plays, 10 plus yards. 48% of Brandon Aiyuk's plays went for 10 plus yards. That's first in football. 20.4% of his plays went over 20 plus yards. That ranks second in football. 70.6% of his catches were for a first down or for a touchdown. Talk about clutch. Ladybug, my friend. That ranks third in football. He has the most explosive play percentage at 28.1% in the NFL since 2022. He has the sixth most receiving yards per route, the fourth most receiving yards per reception, and the percentage of teams receiving air yards at 35.9%, which ranks 10th in football. If there is any player you're gonna resign, Bosa, yes. Trent Williams, yes. Brock Purdy, of course. Then you get into players like Deebo Samuel and other players like Lenore and Mooney Ward and, players you want to keep around, but, will they, we're not really sure. And I'd pay Lenore, mind you, just as an example. You got to pay Brandon Aiyuk. That's why it was so frustrating of why is this taking so long? This feels like a slam dunk. Yes, this has to happen, doesn't it? It's going to happen, right? Now, we have some questions here by Calachipto. They ask, Trent will sign before Labor Day, I think. Cap and team are set. Now they know what they can do for Trent. It's a good point. Now, keep in mind, we have no idea how much Aiyuk's extension, how much cap space it freed up. It could be a lot. We do know they front-loaded the you-know-what out of it, $47 million from today until April 1st next year. So maybe they used a lot of that cap space they had stored up now to make his cap hit lower later. But we know this, that San Francisco has their star receiver locked up. And in fact, while there was many doubts that this thing wasn't going to get done, it almost didn't get done. There was actually a report today, which, funny enough, I think I told you guys, I'm not saying I was the first, but I had heard from a little birdie out there that San Francisco had been targeting Courtland Sutton. And when it didn't happen and other bigger names were like, I haven't heard that, people were like, oh, you're a liar. Well, Diana Rossini today of The Athletic said San Francisco reached out to the Denver Broncos, tried to trade a third-round pick for receiver Courtland Sutton. Had that trade gone through, Aiyuk would have gone to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not trying to pat myself on the back, just trying to tell you how close this thing was from falling apart. I mean, go back to the Patriots offer and assumed multiple draft picks and Kendrick Bourne. San Francisco said, we'll do that. Aiyuk said, we won't. The Browns, Amari Cooper, second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. San Francisco said, we can do that. Aiyuk said, I'm not going to Ohio. Then San Francisco finally finds an offer from the Steelers that they reluctantly were going to accept. And then Aiyuk was like, I kind of want to stay in San Francisco. I think that's, and I said this plenty of times throughout the entire process, that is exactly what both sides wanted. They wanted to stay together. It really did. Again, it's the hallmark love story of you have to have that middle act where the lovebirds are like, I'm angry at you. Why? I don't know. And there has to be some made-up tension. Then ultimately it comes back around. They're like, why was I ever mad at you? I love you so much. Let's get married, move to a small town, sell your big business, come move to freaking, I don't know, Kentucky. We'll raise turduckens. We'll raise unicorns. It'll be great. It's butterflies and rainbows. San Francisco went through the unnecessary middle part of the chapter, the bumps, the bruises. Now they're raising turduckens and unicorns in Kentucky, being like, yeehaw, brother, it's a party out here. They're having a grand old time. But this almost didn't happen. It was inches away. We heard that Patriots. Robbie439 says, I've officially lost it. It might be because I did like 90 different shows about this and I'm just tired of talking about it, where it's like, thank God it's over with. Thank God we're here. Like, whether you're religious or not, you're praying to a deity like, thank you so much. We figured this thing out. Week 1's in 11 days, folks. We have 10 days now. Once the sun raises tomorrow, we have 10 days to football. At least Niner football. Aiyuk's a San Francisco 49er. Going to be suited up week 1. Like, that feeling when they're introducing starting lineups and it's like, I'm Deebo Samuel, University of South Carolina, Brock Purdy, Iowa State, Chris McCaffrey, Stanford, George Kittle, Iowa. And they flash Brandon Aiyuk's name and he's like, Brandon Aiyuk, Arizona State. It's like, yes! Like, we did it! We got him locked up. And it's going to be awesome. Bobo says here, hopefully you don't do 90 shows about Trent Williams. I mean, honestly, if I'm being this perfectly honest, Trent Williams may have given us the most boring holdout ever. Ever. Like, at least T.O. was doing sit-ups and push-ups and pull-ups and doing bench press in his driveway. Trent Williams is just like, just pay me. Just pay me. Like, San Francisco had the yin and the yang of, hold in and hold out. Aiyuk was social media and I want to get traded. And Trent's just like, I'm just going to wait. Just going to wait till we get this thing figured out. And Kawachipto, you're right. Now we're just counting down the days until Ronnie Bell gets released for Trent. That's right. I do want to clarify something. San Francisco does not have to release anybody, make any roster moves for Brandon Aiyuk. He was already carried over on the 53-man roster. They do have to indeed make a move to put Trent Williams back on the active roster. That is the only move they're going to have to make. I would assume that's Ronnie Bell. Maybe it's Demetrius Flanagan-Falls, but I'm not exactly sure. Those feel like the two big, potential cut candidates. I don't know. We shall see. Here we go. Robbie439 says, the problem with Trent is you need to take his threats seriously. He's held out before. Brandon Aiyuk's actions always told us he wanted to stay. Robbie, you are 1,000% right that the Aiyuk stuff, even when things felt drastic, even when it felt like this may actually, be the end of Aiyuk's tenure in San Francisco, there was always this like underlying feeling of like, yeah, right. Seriously, like, there's no way. Like, Aiyuk, of all people, who has been the quietest diva receiver we've ever seen, like, this isn't him. And I think through a lot of that, San Francisco did call his bluff, which ultimately led to kind of where it led of like, okay, we may have to trade you, but Trent is different. Trent is, if you don't pay me, I don't need to show up. I don't need to be here. I don't need to play football. I got millions of dollars lined up. Like, I'm healthy. I'm good to go. Like, he could never play another snap ever and be the most content human being of all time. Trent doesn't need to be here at all. He wants to be here because he wants that, 20th year? Is it 20 years? I think he wants the record for Pro Bowls or All Pros, whatever it was, and he wants a Super Bowl. So there is incentives for him to be here, but those are very small, very minuscule compared to being worth, I don't know what it is, like the top guaranteed money. But going back to Aiyuk for a hot second, there were so many like levels to this. There was TikTok videos with Jaden Daniels. There was the Pivot podcast where Aiyuk was like, I want to play with the Niners. If I don't, then the Commanders. If I don't, the Steelers. There was trade talks with the Patriots and the Browns and the Steelers and the Broncos. There was San Francisco, kind of nearing trading Aiyuk to Pittsburgh and getting Courtland Sutton. There was San Francisco yesterday kind of alluding to threatening him with fines. There was Aiyuk leaving the building frustrated yesterday because the deal wasn't getting finished. It was a 38-day hold-in. And ultimately, if you want to talk about, who wins and who loses, people may say Aiyuk won. Sure, Aiyuk did win. I think the way San Francisco played this was kind of dangerous. They almost lost a star receiver, but ultimately, they held on and cooler heads prevailed. But there is this kind of underlying fear in me that, while Lenore is a free agent, Mooney Ward's a free agent, like no one's going to have this exact same situation. I think of Ricky Pearsall. He's a receiver. If he can stay healthy and be great, it's a conversation for 4 years down the road for sure. But San Francisco has kind of been beat the last 2 extensions they've given out. Brock Purdy could be one for sure next year, right? Where San Francisco is going to pay Brock Purdy 1,000%. Brock knows that. I know that. You know that. They know that. But Bosa took them to the brink last year because he knew he had leverage. Aiyuk took San Francisco essentially to the brink again. He penny pinched them, if you will. Now, everybody wins. Aiyuk gets paid. San Francisco gets their star receiver. But, there is this thought in my head of like, Brock knows you need him. Brock knows you want him. Brock could sit there and do exactly what Bosa and Aiyuk just did. Now, I don't think he would threaten to get traded or want to leave, but he could hold out for sure. He could definitely 1,000% say, I'm not playing until you pay me, which if things get fickle and things get in the weeds again like they have, I'm hoping San Francisco learns something from this is kind of what I'm trying to say here. I know Adam Schefter said that the Niners believe they had a deal in place in April. I'm hoping the minute the season ends, no matter when it is, whether it's December, January, and if it ends in February, I'm hoping the minute that game is over with, Aiyuk is in the office talking to John with his agent. I don't want to play this game of will they, won't they? And it'll be a situation where it's like, we know they won't. They'll get this thing figured out, but it's the anxiety of, okay, what if they mess this up? What if next year it's Joshua Dobbs starting week 1 or 2? Now, again, it's a conversation for a whole year from now, but I'm hoping San Francisco takes how the last 2 extensions or negotiations have gone and apply them to next year. That you got to take care of your boys. You can say you want to all you want publicly. I need that contract selfishly being worked on, and I would not be shocked that they aren't already drafting together proposals of like, here's our first offer, here's our second offer. If Brock says no, here's our third offer. Like, I'm hoping they're getting ahead of things. Yes, go pay Trent, take care of that, sure. But, I'm hoping San Francisco has learned from the Bosa and Aiyuk negotiations. You got to get ahead of these things. They can get ugly. You do not want to misplay the quarterback market. You will get burned like never before. And the market has already jumped up so much this year with guys like Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa and eventually Dak Prescott. Like, if Dak plays this year and hits free agency, I want San Francisco signing Brock Purdy before Dak Prescott. I don't want to see what that deal is. You screw yourself. You can lose $4 million each year in that process because you don't get ahead of it. I want San Francisco to do that. Robbie439 asks here, Sterling, what do you think the chances of Brock having a bad season because of the pressure of the contract on his shoulders? He melted down one time when the MVP was on the line against the Ravens. I think Brock Purdy's shown us enough that his worst game is not going to linger for weeks and weeks and weeks. They lost 3 games in a row last year. It wasn't great. Part of it was his fault. Some of it wasn't his fault. I think, there's going to be games where Purdy looks like the MVP. That'll be a lot of the games he plays because of the offense he plays in and his skill set that he has. He just amplifies Shanahan's offense to the next level. But there is going to be games where, and let's not forget, that was the first time he's seen a Ravens defense like that. That was the first time he has seen a Steve Spagnuolo defense. Brock's a really smart kid, and you can tell that I don't believe he's ever lost to the same team twice. And he'll get Kansas City again this year. We will see how that goes. I'm hoping it isn't the first time he loses to the same team twice in a row, but he has never been one to falter against the same opponent twice. I think once he sees a defense, sees what they can throw at him, I don't think it will be the same outcome. But even then, Purdy's going to be fine. Like, I don't have the fear of he'll be bad. There is, yes, this, okay, like, can he replicate last season again? Is he going to be a top 5 MVP vote getter and finalist? I don't know. Guys are coming back from injuries. There's better. The Lions are really good, should be good this year. Jared Goff is kind of the darling of the NFL mid-tier quarterbacks. How's Philadelphia going to go? There's so many kind of lingering questions. Like, I know people point to Philadelphia and Dallas as like, well, the NFC's powerhouses, but both those teams have a ton of questions. Whereas San Francisco's only question now is Trent Williams. Like, that's why getting Aiyuk signed was such a big deal. Not only for the sanity of Shanahan and John Lynch and the fan base and Brandon Aiyuk himself, but it also just erases one of the biggest question marks they have of, are you going to have Brandon Aiyuk? Your offense is worse without him. And there was going to be a possible world where you didn't have Aiyuk, you had an injured Pearsall, and you had Chris Conley playing receiver, which I like Chris Conley. That's not who you want playing receiver for you. You want to have your guys out there. We have a comment here by Bobo saying that I hope Purdy goes a Tom Brady route, takes $25 million per year, and keep the dominant team around. I know there are so many similarities with Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant, late round pick, wasn't supposed to be here, was kind of thrust into being a starter, instant success, back-to-back NFC Championship game appearances, a Super Bowl appearance, almost won in overtime, and there's a lot of similarities between the two people. I don't think Brock should do that. It's almost like pay him, pay him, make up for the payments that he's not getting now for as good as he's been almost, which is a foolish way to think, but it's like he's been the biggest bargain in football for the last 2 years. So pay him what he's worth. And if that is record-breaking money, then so be it. That's the price. Just like Jimmy Garoppolo, when he signed his record-breaking contract, in like a month, it was like 11th. So it's like, I would pay Brock what he's worth. If he wants to take less, fine. That's cool with me. Ain't my money. But he's a married man now. I'm sure he wants to have kids. He's pretty young, but he's already suffered a torn UCL. One snap takes his entire career away from him. Go get paid. Go, get 10 years, get 55 mil, get 65 mil. Give him whatever he wants. Like, just like Aiyuk, Brock Purdy has amplified the offense to an nth degree, like Christian McCaffrey. You paid McCaffrey big money. You actually gave him more money when you didn't have to. You're going to give Trent Williams more money when you don't really have to, although in this case with Trent, you kind of do. Aiyuk, you could have traded, but he makes the offense better, so you paid him. Brock is the biggest, amplifier of the offense, not named Christian McCaffrey, so you're going to pay him whatever he's worth, whatever he asks for. So, which I have no idea what that's going to be. No one knows, but still. Rick Diaz asks here, what's up, Rick? He says, yeah, Rick, we are pretty happy. We are very happy. What's so funny is my wife and I moved in together this past May. Got married 31st of May and moved in together this year. And ever since we've moved in together, every day is like Brandon Aiyuk this, Brandon Aiyuk that. And I called her today. And the minute he signed, she was teaching an art class at our school after an after school program. And when I told her, I was like, hey, babe, good news and bad news. Good news is Brandon Aiyuk signed. Bad news is I have to do a podcast about it tonight, but I never have to talk about Brandon Aiyuk's contract ever again. I will not say the words that came out of her mouth on YouTube, but she was very happy. I'm sure a lot happier than you and I are. She was like, thank God I never have to hear about Brandon Aiyuk's extension talks ever again. I'm tired of him. But yes, it's a great day. Am I happy? Rick asks that Aiyuk is staying a 49er. Of course I am. I mean, how can you not be? I mean, Rick, when you have great players, you should do whatever it takes to keep them, unless they're asking for like asinine money. Now, I didn't think Ayuk was going to get $30 million. That's fine. I'm not paying it, so I can care less. Now, you could maybe say he's overpaid a little bit. A lot of this is like we're relieved he's paid, but in the next few days, once we get the entire contract details out, where it's like, here's the guaranteed money, here's the fully guaranteed money, here's the void years, here's the potential opt out, it'll make a lot more sense. There'll be more, we'll have more ability to kind of break down, was it a win, what is a loss, if you will. But yeah, I mean, even if Ayuk stayed via the 5th-year option, it was still going to be a win. Now, it's probably going to lead to an eventual loss via trade, but it's all about maximizing the window. And you could think what you want of Brandon Aiyuk and how he handled himself. I don't care. But people kind of turned on him. They were done. They were tired of it. They were annoyed. They were fed up. And I get it. Totally get it. But if you're a Niner fan and you want to win a Super Bowl, while maybe in 2 years' time, we're like, oh my goodness, he's overpaid. Oh, if they win a Super Bowl during his contract, who cares? If that is the ultimate prize, the ultimate goal, and San Francisco wants to overpay Brandon Aiyuk and give Brock Purdy record-breaking money and pay Deebo and draft Pearsall and do all these moves that we can disagree with, if it leads to a Super Bowl, who cares? Like, we are in the prime position in the NFC to go all in. And kudos to Jed York and San Francisco's brass for giving Aiyuk what he wanted. You can kind of say they caved, if you will. Their first offer was $26 million estimated per year. They went up roughly $4 million per year on a 4-year contract. They're paying him, what is that, $16 million more than they wanted to. That's not including guarantees. It's not including also the nitty-gritty, minute details that'll kind of give us more info on it. But give San Francisco credit. Give Aiyuk credit. And again, ultimately, if they win a Super Bowl, I don't care what they pay him. If they wanted to cut Kyle Shanahan's legs off and his arms off and only give him a mouth to talk through, and that got Aiyuk back in the building, and they win a Super Bowl, well, if it's consensual, then by all means, Kyle Shanahan, good on you, brother. Like, good on you. That's drastic, and I apologize for the gruesome comment, but, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And, you know, for a lot of people, Papa J here, perfect time comment. For $30 million a year, Brandon better get the ball a lot more often. It was really funny. When the move happened, when the extension came through, I was napping. I've taken one nap in like 4 months. I don't nap. Of course, the one day I'm like, I'm kind of tired. I'm gonna take a nap with the dog for a second. I wake up and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. My dad texted me and was like, he better be an all-pro every single year. He'd be better perform now. And you're right. You got to show you're worth that money. You work to get that money, then you work to show you're worth that money, and more, hopefully. But you're right that I think, unfortunately, a victim of this although San Francisco doesn't have to do this, they can move off of Deebo Samuel in 1 year's time. I think that that's not what they want to do, but if, say, money gets tight or Purdy's asking for crazy money, which he might, and they want to bring back Lenore and Hufanga and Greenlaw and Aaron Banks and Mooney Ward, and let's say Deebo Samuel is kind of a down year, if you will. I don't think he will, but you are going to want to keep your eyes glued to what Deebo Samuel does and what Ricky Pearsall does this year. If Ricky Pearsall shows any signs of a quick ascension up the NFL ladder, we are going to be discussing Deebo Samuel's future. In fact, as of today, like the minute after the move went through, Mike Silver was like, well, they might trade Deebo in November. And I was like, can you just give us a minute, man? Like, can we have a little bit of time to like just relax? Man, but even then, like, talk about Deebo's future, whatnot, I don't think this was intentional, but maybe by some weird, outcome or some weird way that they're getting Deebo Samuel in the best shape he's ever been in, eerily similar to 2021 Deebo, the All-Pro year, and they're getting in his prime, newly paid Brandon Aiyuk. Like, we've never seen that tandem before. Aiyuk is much better than he was in 2021. His second year in the league, you're getting two receivers, two All-Pro receivers in their prime in the best shape ever. Now, is Aiyuk going to be good to go week one? Is his body going to be right? That's why they had to get him in the building now to give him a whole week to prep. They play on Monday or in 2 Mondays, so they have a whole week to get him ready to go. But getting Aiyuk done today doesn't just mean, oh, he's back. It means, no, you're getting McCaffrey and Kittle and Brock Purdy. And, Purdy's also now playing for a contract. So he's going to want to be crazy good, right? So then you're getting Aiyuk done, but also you're getting, best shape ever Deebo Samuel. Like, I know it was very tedious, very annoying, if you will. But San Francisco may come out on the other side even better than going in, which doesn't feel right, doesn't sound right, knowing what it took to get here. But still, like, being the optimistic side of me that I can, it's like, this is great. This is a great day. Now, we'll see how it plays out over the course of the contract. When San Francisco signed Jimmy G, it was a pretty great day at the time. When they got D Ford and gave him a big contract, felt like a pretty good day at the time. And we saw those things kind of played out. But, I think Aiyuk is set up for even more progress. Even like Aiyuk has always stated he wants the targets. He really wants to become this number one receiver. He wants to be Devontae Adams. I know Purdy's not Aaron Rodgers, but now that Purdy and Aiyuk are probably going to be locked in together, like, we're talking about a hopeful, the next great, Niner quarterback receiver tandem of, Montana and Rice and Garcia and T.O., which Garcia and T.O. It feels weird putting in a conversation with Montana and Rice, but, Purdy can really be great, the next great tandem with Aiyuk in San Francisco 49er history, which is just incredible to watch. This is what you want for your team, to retain the stars you draft. And Aiyuk is the second ever Shanahan Lynch regime first-round pick to get a second contract. Like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Papa J, going back to my wife, talking about being tired of the Aiyuk talk. He says, she should brace herself for the Trent Williams contract talk now. I'm very happy. There's not much to say. Just pay the man and get it over with. Just pay it and get it over with. Robbie439 says, the boombox walkout will look so different without Trent and Deebo. These guys need to win a Super Bowl before the team gets gutted next year. See, I'm not of the mindset they're going to get gutted. Like, that is one misconception that many fans have had. And usually it's other fan bases of like, well, you can't pay everybody. Yes, they can. Like, everybody, no, but they can pay people they need to pay. Like, Greenlaw's not going to get a big deal off an injury. Hufunga's not going to get a big deal off an injury. It would be pretty fitting if Hufunga went to the Steelers. I'm going to put this out there now, though, and I hate that I'm saying this. I would not be shocked if Malik Mustafa has a phenomenal season and looks to be, the next big thing. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Talanoa Hufanga head down south. Whether it is to the Rams, maybe it's to the Chargers. I would love Hufanga with the Chargers and Harbaugh. That'd be really fun. I know he loves the Bay. I want him to stay here, but you can go back home. I get it. I could totally see that. But for later. Yes, if there's no Deebo and there is no Trent in a year's time, which I have no indication there won't be, at least Trent in 1 year's time, you got to have guys step up. I don't know if you watched the brick by brick of last week's Niner show on YouTube. Jair Brown already in this leadership role. He's already taken on the next steps of being a leader in that safety room. Really, it's really awesome to see. And if Deebo has to go, or if Deebo is also 29 years old, that contract's not going to be $78 million guaranteed and $120 million total. It's not going to be that. I don't even know. I can see the Jets going and getting Deebo, if I'm being honest with you. Like, the Jets make a lot of sense for Deebo. They wanted to trade for him when he was going to get a big contract beforehand. So I can see the Jets being a big partner or being a big piece in Deebo's future, but he's energy. And that's the one thing with Aiyuk too. If Kyle likes you, Kyle loves you. Like, Lynch led the Jimmy Garoppolo re-signing. It was like, we have our guy Kyle. They had to convince Kyle to say yes. Meanwhile, Kyle was like, pay Deebo, pay Aiyuk, pay McCaffrey, pay Trent. Like, once Kyle likes you, once Kyle, kind of has his grip and claws into you, he's not going to let you go. Like, Kyle brought back Matt Breida this year. Although he cut him, brought him back. Like, Kyle's never afraid to bring back, Tevin Coleman or other players along those lines of like Kerry Hyder. Like, once Kyle likes you, kind of always kind of knows where you're going to be at and doesn't mind bringing you back for a year or two. So we'll see. But Aiyuk is back, which is awesome to see. Eric Wallace, says, just subbed as a civil Seahawks fan. Well, I'll tell you, Eric, don't sleep on Seattle this year. Mike McDonald's now there, a new defense, revamped. Geno isn't great still. But hey, I don't think people realize that it will take a few years, but we could easily see the Rams kind of trickle down the pecking order the next few years. They'll be good this year, but next 2 years, Stafford gets older. Who's the quarterback there? This, that, and the other. But Seattle is going to take a big kind of dip down and loop back up in the next few years. Kawachipto says, Huff is gone. That's okay. Papa J says, Huff to the Steelers. Blasphemy. He's got the hair. He got the hair, man. Really has the hair. Robbie439 says, I think Lenore is going to price himself out. According to everyone, he's the practice MVP. He's been phenomenal. And he actually also said that they did try to negotiate a new deal with him already. He said no. He wants to bet on himself having a big year. Good thing for San Francisco, though, that he wants to play nickel. Nickelbacks do not get paid big money. Now, maybe in a year he's playing outside, but him playing nickel is almost a good thing for San Francisco. So I'm not like, I get he'll get paid for sure, but playing nickel is not going to benefit him really at all, unless they treat him somewhat like Jalen Ramsey, who got paid big money as a nickel. But hey, let's see. Bobo asks here, was there teams asking about Trent? like they did BA. I if anybody called John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan and said, "Hey, John, Kyle, what are you thinking about Trent Williams? You want to trade him?" I think they would laugh that man into eternity. I think whoever that GM would be, I think they would lose all respect for them. Like, that'd be like asking, like, would you trade Brock Purdy? Would you trade Christian McCaffrey? No. Like, what is this? No way. Let's see what we got here. Nothing really else in the chat, but again, this is a great day. A great day for the San Francisco 49ers, a great day for Brandon Aiyuk, and it's a great day for Niner fans. This saga is over. Yesterday, I was like, the Niners are fed up with Brandon Aiyuk. Today, I'm like, eat up, boys. We got millions to play with. This is a great day. This is what you want if you're a fan base. And I'll tell you what, I have a message to Steeler fans out there. Get out of my mentions. Every time, I'm like, the San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk can really hash this thing out and lay a plan of like, hey, they can really come to a new deal. They're all like, you really think he's going to re-sign with your team? Look what happened. Get out of here. The Steeler fans were the most obnoxious fan base I have ever seen. I have friends that are Steeler fans. I get it. You thought you were going to get Brandon Aiyuk. There were so many reports that were like, a deal's done, and the deal didn't get done. None of those reports were like real valid. Rappaport and Schefter and Garfull. It was like random ass dogs that were like, bark, bark, Aiyuk to Pittsburgh. That was a parrot. I apologize. But like, man, like, come on. Yes, they were leverage. Robbie439 calls them dirty hooers, if you will. I won't go that far, but okay. But it's like, you got dogs that are like, well, if I'm wrong, then blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you weren't just wrong. You were wrong the whole time. What was the source? Joe Blow on the corner giving you a reach around like, hey, man, I got some sourcing. Like, yes, Aiyuk did say that I would like to be a Steeler. That's great. That's great. It was also abundantly clear that he always really wanted to be a Niner and was using the Steelers and was using the Commanders of like, hey, if you don't want to pay me, I'll go to these teams. Give me your offers. Like, yes, there were serious talks. Yes, there was almost a trade. Sure, that's great. It's fine. Totally valid. But by no means was there pen put to paper with Pittsburgh. Like, Aiyuk never signed a deal. It was all like, I'll agree to that. Hey, San Francisco, can you up the offer? That's all it was. Like, Robbie439 says, the dog deleted his Twitter account. I think he got put down. And you're right. Like, every moment there was something that validated those people's sources. They were like, I told you so. Like, what are you, 12? What is this? No one knew anything. Even the insiders, Garofolo, Rap Sheet, Schefter were like, it could happen. It may not. And it's like they were just kind of waiting on bated breath of like, it could happen any day now. And we're all like, what does that even mean? Like, you got me on here and you probably got Grant Cohn and, the guys from Rob Lauder and you got Brad Graham, all these content creators and journalists and writers that are like, I'm trying to figure this thing out. I'm trying to know like what's going on. And like, you can make a good guess. You can try to follow the path of least resistance and try to, pave a way of like, this makes the most sense, read the tea leaves. But it's like, they weren't just reading tea leaves. They were full on chugging Kool-Aid. People were like, mainly Steeler fans of like, he's going to be a Steeler. I made a jersey swap. Aha! I'm happy you're good at graphic design. Get out of the mentions, please. That being said, like, share, and subscribe if you are a Steelers fan. Welcome into the show. But it's a great day for Niner fans. I'm so happy to be able to celebrate this with you. If you will, follow me on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. The Instagram is 49ers.access. Yes, I know my quote unquote Pittsburgh accent is really bad. I don't even know what people from Pennsylvania sound like. I've been there once. I went to Gettysburg. It was awesome. I don't know what else happens there. It's cold. They have cool food at stadiums. Go Steelers. Terrible Towers are great. Awesome. Whatever. But follow us on social media. Like, share, and subscribe to the show. If you've ever been to a Niner game and you want to go back, if you're a Steeler fan and you're like, I never want to see San Francisco play, I never want to be around Sterling Bennett, and you want to watch a game in Pittsburgh, use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. You can also find the latest news, podcast, videos, articles, whatever it may be, on sportspider.com. They collect ESPN, Fox, Sporting News, Niner Nation, all the big websites you go to for your specific team's news is at sportspider.com in one place, categorized by your favorite team. Hit that link down below and go to sportspider.com. And if you love fantasy football, now that Brandon Aiyuk is back in San Francisco, you're thinking of, should I use him with my first round pick? Don't do that. That's unwise. Maybe a fourth round pick. But if you want to play fantasy football this year with me, of all people, because I'm just so cool, obviously, hit that link down below. It'll take you to the Locker app. I can get you in for free, and you can win a jackpot of $450 that escalates every time we add somebody in. So if we get you and your friends and their friends and your mom, your dad, the dog, Pretty Ricky, all the Steeler fans, we're talking loads of money. The top 3 people that finish in the league win. And that jackpot, again, escalates every time we add somebody into the group. Get the Locker app, hit that link down below, and join our league titled 49ers Access. One more time for the folks in the chat, Robbie, Bobo, Lori, Papa J, whoever else was in there. Rick Diaz was in there for sure. The San Francisco 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk have finally agreed to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension with $76 million guaranteed and $47 million due to Aiyuk from today all the way until April 1st, 2025. A great, great day for Niner fans and an even better day for San Francisco and Brandon Aiyuk. With all that said, like, share, subscribe, leave that review. And look, by next week, we're starting the countdown to kickoff. Stay tuned for my seasonal predictions. Going to go through every single division, who I think's in the playoffs, and who I think's wins the Super Bowl. Will it be San Francisco? You'll have to come back right here next week to find out, and we'll preview Niners and Jets Week 1, Monday Night Football. Brandon Aiyuk's back, hopefully soon. Trent Williams will be back. That's all happening next week right here. My name is Sterling Bennett, and as always, stay faithful.